building occupies a space, and if that building wasn't there, there would be a wildland. There would be a meadow or a forest. The meadow or forest provides ecosystem services such as cleaning air, cycling water, providing habitats for wildlife. Now, a building could potentially do that as well.
So welcome to the studio, Nick. I loved watching that film. It seems like the Circular Building Toolkit, it's a very powerful tool to reduce our carbon emissions and save money at the same time. Is that right?
That is right. And yeah, and just first, thank you. It's great to be back in the studio, and I really am pleased that you like the film. And yeah, the Circular Building Toolkit, which was co-created by EMF and our built environment partner, Arup, I think it did a very good job of taking two of the key circular economy principles and translating them into four very practical design strategies for the built environment. And key to it is about the reduction of virgin materials, which translates into emissions, because as the audience may know, half the climate challenge is about energy and half is about materials. And so circular economy is crucial for addressing that other half. But let's just make one point about the four design strategies. In my view, we should prioritise the strategies that avoid emissions now. So the first strategy, which is about avoiding demolition, and the third strategy, which is about building with the right materials, they have the potential to avoid emissions now. Whereas building for longevity and the other, and building efficiently is about emissions that are avoided in the future. So I just want to make that point.
Yeah, it's a good point. And there's a lot of buildings to still be built right now.
Exactly.
But you mentioned two principles of the circular economy are covered by the toolkit. What about the third principle?
Yeah, well spotted. So the third principle, regenerate nature. Perhaps it's not intuitive to people how the built environment can do that. But if you think about, well, firstly, one way is about sourcing materials. So if you use more bio-based materials in the buildings, you can source in a regenerative way. But also, a building occupies a space, and if that building wasn't there, there would be a wildland. There would be a meadow or a forest. The meadow or forest provides ecosystem services such as cleaning air, cycling water, providing habitats for wildlife. Now, a building could potentially do that as well. Yeah, and there's plenty of examples. For example, on the air quality example, Venlo City Hall in the Netherlands that actually cleans the air around it through its green facade. The Bank of America in New York that has a HVAC, a ventilation system that draws air from the city of New York, cleans it, and then exhales it.
There's one in Paris I've seen.
There's one in Paris as well, one in Milan. But air quality, but also carbon sequestration. So there's a company in California called Blue Planet Systems that has designed a concrete mix that actually is a bit like coral reefs, that actually draws carbon dioxide down, fixes it in the aggregate, and therefore creates a carbon positive or carbon sequestering concrete, a bit like a coral reef, as I said.
And Nick, some of these fantastic examples that you're sharing are examples from the global north as well. So is this happening also in the global south? Are we seeing examples of this?
Well, that's a very good question, because in the next 30 years, if you look at to 2050 in a city like Lagos, 80% of the buildings that will be there in 2050 have yet to be built. And it's actually flipped in Europe. 80% of the buildings that are already there. 2050. So it's very important to look to those kind of contexts about what can be done. Now, for high-rise buildings, we're still going to need things like concrete and steel, because you need to get that density and that 15-minute city idea. You need high-rise. So we need things like low carbon concrete, like I mentioned. But there's other concrete and steel innovations that greatly reduce the carbon emitted in the process. But I think the very interesting sort of innovation area is in this sort of lower rise buildings. So anything below about 20 stories, there's a skyscraper in Norway that's just been completed, which is all timber. It's in a place called Brumunddal. There's a hotel in Cape Town that's built out of hemp. It's called hempcrete. So it's basically hemp stalks that's blended with lime mortar.
Seems like an amazing material, hemp.
Hemp, yeah, hemp. You can food, clothes, and now construction materials. But one of my favourite innovation or startups I've come across recently is it's a company called Oxara, and they've taken earth or dirt, and they've blended it with this admixture, which is a sort of mineral admixture, non-toxic, and they've created a material that basically performs like concrete. And I think this points to a really important thing, which is that we need a new vernacular. A vernacular means we need material, we need buildings that are constructed using locally available materials, yeah? Which is what we've been doing for thousands of years, but now there's this sort of like international concrete, steel, glass. That points to modernity. But actually, maybe in the future, this new vernacular will be more timber, more earth, more bamboo. And in that way, we can sort of build out these cities, but in a way that doesn't destroy the planet.
I like that vision of, as you spelled it out there. Nick, I know you've got lots more examples, but we don't have enough time to go through them all. So thanks very much for joining us in the studio today.